We had assumed Earth was just another underdeveloped species seeking entry. Then their representative tilted her head, and the entire Galactic Council fell silent. Another cycle, another species petitioning for a seat at the table. That thought ran through my mind as I settled into my assigned pod in the Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Coalition. I am Krelox, a voting member of this esteemed body for nearly 300 standard rotations. In that period, I have witnessed 247 species apply for membership. We approved 93, the rest, let's say, did not meet our criteria. The chamber itself was, as always, spectacular. Crystalline walls stretched upward into a domed ceiling displaying a live map of known space. Thousands upon thousands of stars glittered like gems against the dark expanse. The council pods formed a perfect circle, each hovering exactly 2 meters above the polished obsidian floor, representing a member species. The acoustics were flawless, the lighting impeccable, everything designed to inspire respect, and perhaps a touch of intimidation. Today's applicant, Earth, was a minor planet in the less prominent sector of the western spiral arm. I had examined their file the night before while enjoying my usual meal of fermented tuber paste, and frankly, I was unimpressed. A single-planet civilization, barely capable of faster-than-light travel, still grappling with internal disputes and resource issues. The fact they completed the application correctly was, in itself, somewhat remarkable. High Chancellor Thun called the session to order with a resonant gong that echoed throughout the chamber. His species, the Valdrine, were known for their adherence to ceremony and protocol. He raised his primary manipulators and spoke in his deep, commanding voice, "Honored delegates, esteemed members, we gather today to review application number 7421, submitted by the species known as humanity from the planet designated Earth." The doors at the far end of the chamber slid open with a soft hiss. I adjusted my optical receptors to take a closer look. Curious despite myself, I found the figure entering those doors surprisingly unremarkable. A single human female, average height according to her file, bipedal, with the distinctive patch of fur atop her head that seemed so notable to others. She wore formal dark blue attire, decorated with polished metal insignia. Her face was smooth, features small and symmetrical, and she carried herself with a casual confidence that seemed incongruous with the situation. This was Commander Alexis Rivera, Earth's diplomatic representative. She strode across the vast chamber as if she owned it, her footsteps striking the obsidian floor with a near-rhythmic precision. Upon reaching the central platform, she stopped, clasped her hands behind her back, and smiled at us, truly smiled, as if attending a social gathering rather than a formal review determining her species' place in galactic society. I exchanged a glance with Senator Prill in the adjacent pod. His tentacles twitched in what I recognized as amusement. This would certainly be interesting. These primitive species usually were entertaining, until we rejected their applications and returned them to the edges of space. High Chancellor Thum wasted no time addressing the matter. He projected Earth's application onto the central holographic display. Immediately, the deficiencies were clear to anyone paying attention. "Commander Rivera," he began, his voice carrying the familiar tone of bureaucratic condescension. "Your application shows that Earth achieved faster-than-light travel only 73 standard cycles ago. Most applicants possess at least 2 centuries of FTL experience before applying." Rivera nodded slowly. "That is correct, High Chancellor." No excuses, no explanations, no pleading, just calm acknowledgement. I felt one of my secondary arms twitch involuntarily. Did she not grasp the seriousness of this proceeding? Delegate Morvik spoke next, her crystalline form refracting light into rainbow patterns on the floor. "Furthermore, your species still maintains separate governmental bodies, what you call nation-states. Earth lacks a unified planetary government. How can you speak for your entire species when your world cannot even agree on basic governance?" "We have a coordinating body called the United Earth Council," Rivera replied, her voice steady. "They authorized me to represent humanity in this application. While we preserve cultural and regional differences in governance, we are united in our intention to join the galactic community." I made a small clicking sound, the equivalent of a derisive snort. Cultural diversity. A polite way to describe primitive tribalism and the inability to move beyond territorial disputes. Ambassador Yeneth, whose species prided itself on economic achievements, raised the next concern. Her multiple eye stalks focused on Rivera with apparent confusion. "Your resource distribution systems are fragmented and inefficient. Your report shows that large segments of your population lack basic necessities, while others hold far more than they need. This indicates serious flaws in economic management." Rivera's lips curved slightly, not quite a smile, but close enough to be irritating. "We are working on that, Ambassador. It is a complex problem," she said. "Marvelous. They were tackling issues that most advanced species had resolved long before even inventing the wheel. I decided it was my turn to intervene in this charade. Activating my communication crystal, I leaned forward. Commander Rivera, your military spending is frankly alarming. According to your submitted records, humanity devotes roughly 17% of planetary resources to military purposes. Presumably, this is to fight each other, since until recently you had no knowledge of extraterrestrial civilizations. What does this say about your species' temperament? That should unsettle her. In the past decade, we had rejected 3 species for excessive militarization. But Rivera merely looked at me, and I swear there was amusement flickering in those forward-facing eyes. It means we take security very seriously, Council Member Crowax, she said, pronouncing my name perfectly, which was unsettling. Yes, historically, humans have fought among themselves. We have a complicated past. Complicated past. What a vaguely polite euphemism. I had studied the historical briefs. Humans had been killing each other with increasing efficiency for centuries. They possessed weapons capable of making their own planet uninhabitable and had come close to using them multiple times. Senator Prill's tentacles waved in agitation. Your species nearly destroyed itself at least 4 times in the past 2 centuries: nuclear standoffs, environmental collapse, pandemics, AI accidents. You want us to admit a civilization that seems incapable of self-preservation. Rivera tilted her head slightly, and for an instant, something crossed her face that made my tertiary respiratory system skip a beat. Then it was gone, replaced by her usual serene calm. And yet, Senator, here we stand, alive, growing, and reaching outward. Survival is not about avoiding danger, it is about adapting, overcoming, and learning. The audacity of this creature was infuriating. She represented a species barely out of their own atmosphere, lecturing us, species that had mastered the stars, on survival. I knew this session would be brief. My rejection vote was already forming in my mind. High Chancellor Thum shifted in his pod, his massive frame making the anti-gravity field flicker. Let us address defensive capabilities more directly. Commander Rivera, the coalition requires all member species to contribute to collective security. Our space is not without threats: pirates, rogue AI constructs, occasional territorial disputes. What exactly can Earth contribute militarily? It was a standard question we asked every applicant. Most species responded with nervous explanations about their patrol fleets or defensive satellites, trying desperately to show they weren't entirely helpless. I expected Rivera to stumble, perhaps exaggerate Earth's limited capabilities, or reveal some anxiety. Instead, she folded her hands in front of her and smiled. Truly smiled. What would you like to know specifically, High Chancellor? She asked. We have extensive experience in atmospheric combat, naval operations, ground engagements, orbital mechanics, cyber warfare, biological countermeasures, chemical weapon systems, nuclear arsenals, electromagnetic pulse devices, kinetic bombardment platforms, and psychological operations. We can provide detailed technical data for any of these areas you wish to examine. The chamber fell completely silent. I could feel my sensory hairs rise. She had listed those capabilities as if reading a simple inventory. Biological and chemical weapons, civilized species had abandoned these centuries ago as barbaric and ineffective. Delegate Morvik's crystalline form pulsed a reddish hue, signaling distress. Commander, are you suggesting that Earth actively maintains chemical and biological weapons programs? Morvik asked. Maintains? Not in large stockpiles, Rivera replied conversationally, almost warmly. We sign treaties limiting their production and use. But we certainly know how to produce them. After all, we've been doing it for a long time. Mustard gas, nerve agents, weaponized anthrax, engineered viral pathogens, we became very inventive during our various conflicts. Ambassador Yenetha's eye stalks recoiled. Various conflicts, you mean the wars you mentioned earlier? Oh, those were just the major ones, Rivera said, and I noticed a change in her tone. It was neither pride nor shame, but something clinical. Humanity has engaged in roughly 14,000 significant armed conflicts in recorded history. That doesn't count minor skirmishes, border disputes, or civil unrest. We've experienced true global peace for less than 3% of our recorded civilization. 14,000. I ran the number through my neural processor twice, sure I had misheard. But she had said it correctly, 14,000 conflicts. My species had experienced perhaps 20 wars in total, and we considered ourselves contentious. Senator Prill's tentacles froze completely, a sign of either deep thought or sheer terror. Commander Rivera, you are describing a species almost constantly at war. How does anything function? How do you build cities, advance technology, create art if you're always destroying one another? Rivera's expression shifted slightly. For the first time, I noticed something almost like sadness cross her face. We multitask, Senator. Humans are exceptionally good at compartmentalizing. We can build a hospital in one city while bombing another. We can compose symphonies while inventing more efficient ways to kill. It's not something we necessarily take pride in, but it is who we are. Conflict has been the crucible of humanity. I leaned forward in my pod, struggling to contain myself. You speak of this as if it is normal, Commander, as if species are meant to exist in constant internal conflict. This is pathological. This is madness. She looked directly at me, and in that moment I understood why human eyes evolved the way they did, forward-facing, predator eyes, designed to track prey with precise binocular vision. Council Member Krelovox, what you call madness, we call history. Every human alive today descends from winners of territorial disputes, winners in resource competitions, winners in ideological struggles, winners of genetic lotteries favoring aggression, intelligence, and adaptability. We did not choose to evolve on a planet that demanded constant vigilance and competition. But we did evolve here, and it shaped us. High Chancellor Thumb's voice carried an unfamiliar tremor. Shaped you into what, exactly? Rivera's smile returned, but this time it held no warmth. Survivors, High Chancellor. That is what we became. And perhaps, if you are fortunate, allies. The holographic star map above us seemed to dim slightly, though it could have been my imagination. I found myself reconsidering every assumption I had made about this small, seemingly fragile creature in the center of the chamber. She was not nervous. She was not intimidated. She did not seek our approval. And I was beginning to realize that should terrify us. Ambassador Yeneth, perhaps hoping to steer the conversation to safer ground, shifted focus. Commander Rivera, let us discuss your home world's environment. Your application lists Earth as a Class M planet, which usually indicates stable, moderate conditions. However, some of the data appears unusual. Could you clarify? Rivera nodded. Of course, Ambassador. What would you like to know about Earth? Well, Yeneth said, swiveling her eye stalk to examine the projection, your atmospheric oxygen content is listed at 21%. That seems extraordinarily high. Most inhabited worlds maintain oxygen levels between 9% and 14%. Are you certain this is correct? Completely accurate, Rivera confirmed. 21% oxygen. It actually makes things highly flammable. We have to be cautious with fire because our atmosphere is almost ready to ignite. Forest fires can spread incredibly fast. I felt my lungs tighten. With 21% oxygen, we were just below the threshold where spontaneous combustion could regularly occur. How could anything survive on such a volatile planet? Senator Prill seemed equally concerned. Commander, based on your data, surface temperatures range from -89 degrees to +56 degrees Celsius. These are extreme swings. How does your species manage such variation? Mostly clothing, Rivera replied with a casual shrug. Shelter, fire, air conditioning, heating systems. Humans are adaptable. We live comfortably in both Arctic and desert environments. We even have permanent settlements in some of the harshest regions on Earth, Antarctica, the Sahara, the Siberian tundra, the Amazon rainforest. If a place exists on Earth, someone has figured out how to live there. Delegate Morvik's crystalline form pulsed orange, a color I had never seen. Commander, my species requires environmental conditions within a 5 degrees range for optimal function. A 10 degrees shift would be catastrophic. You are describing swings over 140 degrees. This is not habitable. This is a hellscape. We prefer the term home, Rivera replied, her voice carrying a hint of amusement. But yes, Earth could be considered a high-difficulty environment. Our weather can be extreme. Hurricanes exceeding 300 kilometers per hour, tornadoes that destroy reinforced structures, blizzards dropping meters of snow in hours, monsoons flooding entire regions, droughts lasting years. Chancellor Thun's breathing grew heavier. And your people, what? Endure these catastrophes? We predict them, prepare, and rebuild afterward, Rivera said matter-of-factly. If a major hurricane hits a coastal area, we evacuate, endure the storm, then return and reconstruct. It's part of life. Some humans even find extreme weather exciting. Storm chasing is a hobby for some. Hobby? I thought, unable to imagine seeking catastrophic events for entertainment. Rivera continued without pause. Of course, weather is only part of Earth's character. We also have remarkable predatory species, apex predators on land, in water, and in air. Lions can weigh over 600 kilograms and run at 50 kilometers per hour. Great white sharks have rows of serrated teeth for tearing flesh. Saltwater crocodiles have remained virtually unchanged for millions of years because their design is perfect for killing. Box jellyfish carry venom that can stop a human heart in minutes. Poison dart frogs, cone snails, funnel web spiders, all dangerous. My translator was struggling to keep up with the names, but the descriptions were unmistakable. Earth isn't just a planet, it's a death trap disguised as a habitat. Ambassador Yenet's voice rose higher than I had ever heard from her species. Commander, you are describing a planet where everything seems determined to kill you, the weather, the wildlife, even the atmosphere itself. How does your species manage to develop civilization when survival against your own environment is constant? Rivera's smile broadened, and I finally understood the expression, not nervousness, not politeness, but pride. She was proud of the world she came from. Ambassador, you're looking at it the wrong way, she said, her voice taking on a teaching tone that made my sensory hairs tingle. Earth didn't slow our progress, it sped it up. Every challenge made us smarter, faster, more resilient. Predicting storms led to meteorology and climate science. Defending against predators led to weapons and tools. Fighting diseases led to medicine and immunology. Earth didn't try to kill us, it trained us. A cold sensation settled in my central nerve cluster. Trained them. She spoke of her planet as if it were a military academy, not a home. Suddenly, the wars, conflicts, and creative violence made a grim kind of sense. Humans hadn't learned to fight each other despite their environment, they had learned because of it. Violence was survival, adaptability was essential, and each day was a test of worthiness to continue existing. Senator Prill's tentacles trembled. What about diseases, Commander? Surely your medical technology has eliminated major pathogens. Rivera laughed. Truly laughed. Oh, Senator, our microorganisms are as competitive as our larger life forms. Viruses mutate faster than we can make vaccines. Bacteria evolve antibiotic resistance in real time. Parasites can change host behavior. Plants can destroy brain tissue. Humanity has been in an evolutionary arms race with microscopic life since before we descended from the trees. We've eradicated only 2 diseases in our history. Everything else remains, still evolving, still finding ways to survive. The chamber fell silent except for the hum of life support systems. Every council member was absorbing the same chilling thought: Earth was not a classmate. It was a death world. And humanity hadn't just survived, they had thrived. High Chancellor Thumb, perhaps to regain control of the discussion, straightened in his pod, adopting his most authoritative posture. His voice dropped to the deep, resonant tone used when issuing judgments. Commander Rivera, while the harshness of your planet is acknowledged, surviving extreme conditions does not automatically qualify a species for coalition membership. Many primitive species endure hostile environments. That does not make them civilized. It does not make them sophisticated. It only means they are fortunate to still exist. The words lingered in the air, heavy with condescension. It was the kind of dismissal Tum had mastered over centuries, the verbal equivalent of patting someone on the head and sending them away. I had heard him use similar lines countless times with applicant species who overestimated their abilities. Rivera remained perfectly still for a moment. Then, almost casually, she tilted her head slightly, maybe 15 or 20 degrees. Her eyes never left Thumb. She didn't blink. She didn't speak. She simply held that subtle angle. And something in the chamber shifted. Silence descended instantly and completely. Every council member stopped moving. Brill's tentacles froze midwave. Morvik's colors paused. Yenetha's eye stalks locked in place. Even the ambient noise seemed to fade, as if the chamber itself were holding its breath. I could not rationally explain what happened. Not scientifically, not logically. But every instinct, every survival mechanism coded into my DNA over millions of years, screamed that I was facing a predator. Not figuratively, a true apex predator was assessing threats. That small, economical tilt of her head had transformed Rivera entirely. The diplomatic veneer fell away like a shed skin, revealing something ancient, honed over millennia of hunting, killing, and surviving on a planet that fought to kill everything living. Her forward-facing eyes, which I had noted earlier with detached curiosity, now seemed like precision targeting systems, binocular vision capable of tracking rapid movement with deadly accuracy. She hadn't changed her posture. She hadn't gestured or made any overtly aggressive move. Yet, somehow, she now occupied more space. The chamber felt smaller. The distance between us felt insufficient. It became painfully clear, humans were not merely survivors of a harsh world, they were the reason it was harsh. They were not the prey species that endured, they were predators that dominated everything else. Bears, sharks, venomous insects, humans had competed with and overcome them all. Humans had not simply adapted to Earth, they had conquered it. That head tilt was a predator's assessment, the same motion a hunter makes when calculating angles, measuring distance, deciding whether a target is worth pursuing. I had seen it in nature documentaries, in studies of hunting behavior across countless species, but never as the target. Tom's breathing apparatus faltered. His authority dissolved in the presence of something far more primal than politics. Rivera held that position for precisely 3 more seconds. I counted each one, feeling them stretch into eternity. Then she straightened her head, and the diplomat's mask returned. The smile resurfaced. The non-threatening posture resumed. But it was too late, we had glimpsed what lay beneath. "Hi, Chancellor," she said, her voice calm, professional, as if the last 10 seconds had never happened. "I assure you, humanity is neither lucky nor primitive. We are deliberate. We are intentional. And we are very, very patient." Not an explicit threat. Technically, it wasn't a threat, but everyone in that chamber understood the implication. Humans didn't need to voice danger outright, they conveyed it through posture, through the tilt of their skulls, through the subtle projection of lethality in their movements. They had evolved psychological intimidation as a survival mechanism. I struggled to remember how to manage my respiratory systems properly. This was no longer a routine evaluation. It had become something far more serious. We weren't assessing whether humans could join the coalition, we were determining if we could safely leave them unmonitored outside it. Senator Prill finally loosened his tentacles, his earlier confidence gone. "Commander Rivera, perhaps we should discuss Earth's technological contributions to the coalition. Which areas of research might humanity be willing to share?" The predator had returned to its containment, yet its presence lingered in our minds. Rivera considered Prill's question with measured thought, as though the recent moments of existential fear had not just happened. She clasped her hands behind her back and spoke in a calm, almost disconcerting tone, one far more unnerving than overt aggression. "Our technological contributions will certainly be varied, Senator Prill. But it may be more useful first to explain key aspects of human biology and psychology that shape our capabilities. Since the Council questions our suitability, I will address those concerns directly." No. I didn't want her to address anything directly. I wanted this session to end so I could retreat to my quarters and reassess everything I knew about xenobiology. But Rivera pressed on. "Let's begin with stress response. Most species, as I understand it, experience stress as a handicap, performance declines, cognition falters, physical ability diminishes." Several council members nodded. Basic biology. Stress was universally harmful. "Humans are different," Rhea interjected with pride. "Our stress response enhances performance. When faced with danger, our adrenal glands release hormones that increase heart rate, sharpen focus, dilate pupils for better vision, redirect blood to major muscle groups, and suppress pain perception. We literally become faster, stronger, and more alert. What others call debilitating stress, we call an adrenaline rush. Some of us actively seek stress for the pleasure it brings, we call them thrill seekers." Ambassador Yenetha's eye stalks quivered. "You mean danger makes you stronger, that threats improve your performance?" "Yes," Rivera confirmed. "It's evolutionary. On Earth, creatures that panicked under threat didn't survive. Those that became hyperfocused and physically enhanced lived to reproduce. Over millions of years, this selection created humans. We perform at our peak under extreme pressure." Delegate Morvik's crystalline body went fully transparent, a reaction I suspected indicated system shock. "What other biological traits should we be aware of, Commander?" Rivera's faint, almost apologetic smile made her words more unsettling. "Our endurance is notable. Humans are persistence hunters. We aren't the fastest, but we can maintain a steady pace for hours, eventually outlasting almost any prey. We regulate body temperature via sweating, allowing operation in conditions that would incapacitate other species. Simply refusing to stop, we have literally exhausted animals to death. Our bones are reinforced with calcium deposits that withstand significant impact." I felt my tertiary heart skip. A species that dominates through relentless persistence? Our skin self-repairs, sealing minor wounds automatically. Our immune system stores libraries of past pathogens, mounting targeted responses quickly. We have redundancies for nearly every vital function. Humans have survived organ failure, brain damage, even limb loss. Biologically, we are exceptionally resilient. High Chancellor Thum slumped in his pod, his immense presence diminished. "Commander, I must ask, is there anything that can stop humans?" Rivera paused, and for a brief moment, her expression softened. "Other humans are often our greatest danger, which is why we have invested so much effort into learning cooperation despite our competitive instincts. This leads to another point the Council must understand. Humans form pack bonds. Pack bonds. Senator Prill's tentacles curved into a questioning shape. You mean social organization? Most species live in communities. No, Senator. I mean we pack bond with nearly everything, not only with other humans, though we do that with exceptional intensity. We bond with other species. We have domesticated hundreds of predator and prey animals from Earth. We bring them into our homes. We treat them as family. Humans bonded with wolves and transformed them into dogs. We persuaded obligate carnivores like cats to coexist with us. We develop emotional ties to plants, to machines, to spacecraft, and even to places. Some humans have formed sincere emotional attachments to cleaning devices. The absurd nature of that statement briefly cut through my panic. You bond with cleaning devices. We name them, Rivera replied, completely serious. We feel sadness when they fail. We invent personalities for them. Humans possess an almost pathological drive to form connections. This trait is both our greatest vulnerability and our greatest asset. Once a human decides you belong to their pack, they demonstrate loyalty that borders on irrational. Humans have died defending strangers. We have sacrificed ourselves for beliefs, for causes, and for other species. This pack-bonding instinct can override individual survival. I attempted to process this, a species of endurance hunters with heightened stress responses and self-sacrificing loyalty. The galaxy was unprepared for this. It would never be prepared. Ambassador Yennet spoke in a near whisper. Commander Rivera, what you describe is not merely a civilization. It is something I lack words for. You are apex predators with advanced technology and serious emotional attachment complications. Rivera smiled slightly wider. Yes, Ambassador, that is accurate. And before you ask, we understand how unusual we are. We have observed coalition species for several years through your public data networks. We know most of you evolved on stable worlds with predictable climates. We know large-scale conflict is rare among galactic societies. We know our violent history and biological traits make us extreme exceptions. She paused, allowing the weight of that to settle before continuing with what felt like a decisive conclusion. Humans did not seek coalition membership because we need you. We applied because we believe the galaxy needs us. There are dangers beyond the light, pirates, uncontrolled machines, hostile forces we have yet to encounter. When those threats arrive, when something truly dangerous appears, you will want a species shaped by violence, tested by extinction-level events, and too persistent to stop. You will want humans as allies. The silence afterward was complete. She was correct, and I resented that fact. Every logical assessment of galactic security shifted when viewed through the possibility of having endurance hunting, pack bonding, stress-enhanced apex predators as allies rather than unknown variables. My worldview had not collapsed, it had been carefully dismantled and rebuilt into something unfamiliar. Commander Alexis Rivera had accomplished this without raising her voice. High Chancellor Thum skipped the usual deliberation process. When he finally spoke, his voice lacked authority. It sounded weary, resigned, and faintly desperate. Council members, I believe we have sufficient testimony to reach a decision. All those in favor of approving Earth's application for coalition membership. Every pod illuminated in agreement. In 300 rotations of service, I had never witnessed a unanimous first vote. Normally we debated for hours or days. But faced with choosing between humans inside the coalition, where they could be observed, or outside it, where they could act freely, the choice became straightforward. My manipulator activated the affirmative signal almost reflexively. Some older, more instinctive part of my mind understood that refusing these beings was unwise. Keep your allies close and your predators closer. That saying may have been human. I would need to verify it if I ever felt secure enough to study human culture, which seemed doubtful. The vote is unanimous, Thum announced with the tone of someone reading their own final arrangements. Earth's application is approved. Welcome to the Galactic Coalition, Commander Rivera. Rivera's expression remained controlled, but I noticed a subtle lift at the corner of her mouth. Satisfaction, not surprise. She had anticipated this outcome, likely before entering the chamber. Humans, I was learning, were highly skilled at predicting results. Thank you, High Chancellor. Esteemed council members, she said, offering a brief bow that conveyed respect while also resembling a predator acknowledging capable rivals. Humanity looks forward to contributing to the coalition's objectives and cooperating with all member species. We believe this partnership will benefit everyone involved. Mutually beneficial, yes. Beneficial in the way living with a trained attack creature is beneficial, safer than leaving it outside, but never allowing you to forget its potential. She turned and crossed the obsidian floor, her steps echoing through the silent chamber. The doors opened, and Commander Alexis Rivera, humanity's representative, apex predator from a lethal world, exited into the corridor. Once she was gone, the chamber erupted with frantic communication. Prill's tentacles moved erratically. Morvik shifted through unfamiliar colors. Yennethe's eye stalks twisted in visible distress. Thum remained still in his pod, staring at the spot where Rivera had stood, appearing decades older. I leaned back and attempted to organize my thoughts. We had just granted membership to a species of pack-bonding endurance predators from a planet that constantly tried to kill them. A species that became more dangerous under threat, had waged near-continuous war throughout its history, formed emotional bonds with objects, and would die to protect them. What had we truly released into the galaxy? The official reasoning was clear. Better as allies. Better integrated. Better to gain from their abilities and perspective. All arguments I supported. Yet deep within my central nerve cluster, in the part of me that remembered being prey, I understood the deeper reality. We had not truly accepted humanity. Humanity had accepted us. They entered our chamber, revealed exactly what they were, and challenged us to refuse. And we, advanced and civilized species, collectively decided refusal was too frightening. I reopened Earth's file and reviewed the data with fresh insight. Every war, every disease, every disaster, every extinction-level crisis that planet endured. And still humans persisted, adapted, survived, and advanced. There was a human phrase I had encountered, something about riding a tiger. You could not dismount safely, so you held on and hoped. The Galactic Coalition had climbed onto a tiger called humanity. We would call them partners and allies, members in good standing. And we would never forget the moment Commander Rivera tilted her head. The session ended. Back in my quarters, I updated my records with a new classification for Earth. Not Class M. Not even Death World. I labeled it Apex World, home of predators feared by other predators. Welcome to the Coalition, humanity. We were completely doomed.